Welcome to the webinar. Thank you for joining. My name is John Orlando. I'm the U.S. Sales Manager for Plexus. And Aaron, you want to introduce yourself as well?
Yes, Aaron Doughton, Director of Technology and Marketing for PlexusAV, and I am based in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which is where our our main headquarters is.
Yeah, and I cover the U.S. and Canada, and then we've got Stephen as well, kind of covering the rest of the globe. So we've got a small team here, but we're really excited to be able to help you out. A couple things we're going to go over in this webinar. Specifically, a little bit of an intro to Plexus. Aaron's going to dive into an overview of IPMX, and then we'll take a look at some of the benefits of standards and why we chose to go with a standard, and then some product updates, as well as some features of our products. And then we'll get a little live demo of Visual Array, which is our management and control platform. And then we'll just talk about how we can work together going forward. Please feel free to put questions in the chat. We'll answer those. Comments are appreciated as well. Anything in the chat, we'll get to it. So let's get started. So PlexusAV, we are an AV over IP company. We are targeting our products for the pro AV market, and we are basically a startup within Sencor. And if you know about Sencor, 70 plus years in the broadcast industry, located in Sioux Falls, like Aaron said. And so we've got a ton of really good resources and a reputable brand behind us. But we're a small team within Sencor working on PlexusAV. That's all we do. Our initial idea for what Plexus is was to bring a product that is based on a standard to the pro AV market. So basically, in the pro AV market and AV over IP, everybody's kind of doing their own thing. There's a lot of proprietary technology, and that's not necessarily what's best for your customer. So the customers aren't going to specifically ask, hey, can you give me AV over IP that uses a standard? We need to make sure that we're the ones kind of educating the customer on why they might need it. And some of the highlights of why you might want a standard in AV over IP. Number one, choosing a best of breed solution. So like we see it in the audio market, for example, if a microphone from a major manufacturer only worked with DSPs or mixers from that manufacturer, they wouldn't sell as many microphones. You want to be able to pick the best mic, the best speakers, the best DSP. Well, that's not the case in AV over IP. If you buy an encoder from one manufacturer, you need to buy that manufacturer's decoder, and you're locked into that solution. If somebody tomorrow comes out with a better technology, you're either stuck with what you have or you're ripping it out. And that's what we want to avoid, because that's not what's good for the customer. So we're not siloed into one manufacturer. This standard allows us to be interoperable with other manufacturers and other technologies. So you can really choose the best technologies and have them all work together in your ecosystem. There's also a real ease of design, because you don't have to worry about, is this product going to work with another, right? If it is designed to the standard and product B is designed to the standard, they're going to work, they're going to be interoperable. It allows the customer to have less technologies to manage. They don't want to have to log into, one page for one building's encoders, one page for another building's encoders. They want to be able to go to one spot and manage their whole ecosystem. And then the last piece that I think is really important is future-proofing the installations. As an integrator, you don't want to be called out to a site to go rip out something that you put in a year ago because there's something newer out there and now it doesn't work with what they already have installed. You want the items that you install to be able to work in the future with the newer technology that they have. And so it helps the customer, it helps us, it helps the integrators, and it really helps them safeguard their investment in their technology. So what is IPMX? That's the standard that we have chosen, and I'm going to let Aaron kind of take the wheel and give us a brief rundown of what IPMX is.
Yeah, thanks, John. So this isn't a huge deep dive. We've actually done some presentations, and I even did a webcast yesterday, as a matter of fact, that did a little bit more of a in-depth discussion of IPMX, but just so that everybody's aware of kind of the why we chose it and how it benefits end users and stuff like that. I want to try to cover that and make that point here before we really start diving into the product portfolio when John's doing the demos and things like that. So yeah, let's just do kind of a dive into the foundational technology of what we've chosen for PlexusAV. Um, so before I actually do that, let's talk about kind of the state of our IP, because this is what drove our decision, and really actually drove the industry's decision to even start developing IPMX to begin with. And a common question I hear is, why is there another AV over IP protocol or technology? It's just more acronyms to memorize. That's fantastic. Well, I can answer why by kind of describing, I guess, the overall state of the over IP or AV over IP technology industry. So AV over IP technologies that are kind of across the entire industry are developed by single vendors. Obviously their goal is to create an ecosystem for their end users. And this is great because everything, is fairly plug and play until it isn't. Just because these proprietary technologies are usually tailored to specific types of customers or different types of devices or very specific applications. And because of this, this can cause headaches for distributors and integrators who are trying to architect and build systems for a variety of applications and end users. You're not only selling to just one type of user, you're not only selling into gigabit networks, you've got gigabit, 10 gigabit, even 100 gigabit networks that you kind of need to design for. And there's that lack of flexibility. And this isn't a problem that's unique to the Pro AV market by any means. As John hinted, we as Plexus are coming from Sencor with its history in the broadcast industry. And that's been a constant challenge as a manufacturer who tries to be interoperable with other vendors, at least as much as possible. And not having interoperable technology as the basis of your system really limits its flexibility. And then that becomes an issue with testing devices, testing new features and things like that. And really it just ends up falling on the distributors and integrators to test these systems and architect these systems and deal with issues in the field or learn by experience, which is the hard way, right? We don't want to do that. We want to try to avoid that and make it as kind of seamless and flexible as possible. So looking kind of at the long term, buying into product ecosystems that use proprietary protocols can really lock you into a certain type of technology as well. And what if this technology has no future roadmap? What happens when new technology arises? Can that system expand and adapt those new technologies? And for example, like we could talk about 8K. We could talk about high frame rates, up to 120 to 240 frames per second. That's on the horizon, been experimented with. Different dynamic HDR formats, all kinds of things. And this typically locks users into vendor-specific solutions, and single vendor solutions can be turnkey in most cases, but can have disadvantages in the long term with, support. Getting support, having that roadmap, having that flexibility, and being able to kind of expand that installation. And AV over IP technologies in today's Pro AV market really don't scale very well from 1 gigabit to 10 gig, and I really should say from 10 gig to 1 gig. And really certain solutions require 10 gigabit networks, which limits the customer base and applications that they can be deployed into technology or a system. So kind of the idea here is to, I guess, kind of create a bunch of bridges and a foundational technology that it's no longer islands, right? You can start to combine things as well. But yeah, let's talk about how IPMX addresses a lot of these issues. So IPMX is actually a suite of open standards tailored to the Pro AV market. These standards were originally developed and published actually back in 2017 for use in the broadcast IP production space, and now are being adapted and evolved for the Pro AV market. The open standards that IPMX is based upon are designed to address the challenges of having an AV over IP system to be scalable for different sized applications and even budgets. To be interoperable with all vendors and provide a plug and play experience that is not only high quality, but also low latency. And this suite of standards have been created to address the carriage of, your video, audio, metadata, content protection, all kinds of things. But not only the transport piece of it, but it's also the control and management platform. I should do my transport here, my management and control here, maybe. but it's kind of a full suite to address the management and control, the monitoring aspect, the transporting of all of the content, the communication between the devices. It's a lot more than just a transport protocol. It takes a lot of those things into concern. And one of the things that is good about IPMX as well is that the security has been a primary concern from its inception. So when you talk about protecting content with, HDCP, if you're coming in from an HDMI workflow, or if you want all of the content to be protected on the network, you can actually encrypt audio and video streams, metadata streams. The communication layer, the management layer is also using signed certificates with HTTPS and integrates with LDAP systems and 802.1x and all of that great stuff. So even from like a, AV and IT concern, it has been designed to address a lot of those things that integrators and end users have to deal with in the long run. So being based on standards from the broadcast production space, ultra low latency and top-notch quality are really just built into the technologies from the get. An IPMX can scale for 1 gigabit networks up to 25 gigabit networks, 100 gigabit networks, it doesn't really matter. Utilizing the latest uncompressed, light compression and high compression video codec technologies. And whether this is a fully synchronized building islands, right? Well, what if you have an end user, or what if you have a system that already has those islands? Well, now how do you bridge the gap between those islands and exchange content between those? With IPMX and the concept of gateways, you're able to then kind of do a conversion of those other technologies, whether it's Dante or NDI or something like that. There are ways to be able to convert those, take those essence streams, right? Those video and audio streams converted into IPMX. Now you have that content to be used and routed to wherever you need to, and it integrates itself, I guess, into an IPMX network. Yeah, and most importantly, IPMX is just designed to provide an interoperable environment, which the entire Pro AV industry can build upon. Is the main concept there. Now to answer the question, who's involved with this? So there are, there's a lot of organizations listed there. Some of you, may be very, very familiar with some of them, others not so much. But really it's really a conglomerate of multiple organizations, Pro AV markets. And it's not only, the vendors, the manufacturers and the standards bodies, there's also end users, customers are actually providing feedback into these standards and work groups as well. So it's the people that are not only doing the system architecting and actually using these systems, but it's also the people that are developing the new technologies, the really, engineering type mind. And then there's the end users that go like, this is great technology, but how do I use it? How can I make it, better for me? Those people are coming together between, the AIMS. Well, AIMS is really kind of the glue for all of these organizations. But we come together in sometimes bi-weekly calls and really talk through kind of different challenges, what should be implemented, how can we change things, and evolve the technology, right? That I was kind of hinting at a long-term roadmap before. You don't want to get stuck into proprietary technology that isn't thinking about that isn't taking feedback from the market and evolving the technology as it gets deployed and things like that. So it's just a good it's a community, right? It's a community of people involved in the industry that are behind IPMX. So this is a slide with a lot of letters and words and numbers and stuff like that. So there's nothing to memorize here, but I just wanted to put something kind of visual on the screen just to show you when I say like a suite of technologies, this is really what it looks like. These are all the IPMX standards that have been either finalized or actually currently in draft and about to be finalized, and we'll have some interop testing between all the manufacturers, do some dirty interops. I believe it's a little early next year, we'll have another interop to test some USB over IP and some privacy encryption protocol, things like that. So like I said, this thing's an evolving thing and things are getting introduced into the standard. So anyway, yeah, these are just the bits and pieces that allow, video and audio and auxiliary data, and you see HDCP key exchange there, forward error correction for actually correcting packet loss. So for Wi-Fi networks or over WAN connections and things like that, you can actually have forward error correction on all of your Essence streams, which is just makes it more resilient. And then of course, getting into USB over IP, which is that's been a challenge, but I think we're addressing it actually quite well with KVM and webcams, and how do we transport that over an IPMX network that its own standard and defines all of that. And this is all available to the public, by the way. You can go to the Video Services Forum if you search that on your preferred search engine. The Video Services Forum, or the VSF, is the group that actually does all the documentation and hosts those open standards for anybody to read, whether you're an end user or an integrator or a manufacturer. It's all very open. So be able to go and understand a technology to its very core. It's all available for reading. So anyway, yeah, with all of those standards, their powers combined, I guess they create IPMX. And talk a little bit more about the gateway function, or this is kind of the bridge between other proprietary technologies. Um, this is just kind of this is a really high level concept, but it's really bridge technologies between all the different the Dantes and the NDIs with IPMX, and it really comes down to just a repackaging, decoding, and encoding of video and audio protocols. So the key here is to not necessarily add a lot of heavy processing or complicated devices in order to create these bridges. These are usually either software platforms, which we will be working on here at PlexusAV to be able to convert different protocols between IPMX and other things. But I guess the idea is just to be a really simple device that is installed in the network to create that bridge. And so this is a huge advantage with adopting an IPMX system as kind of your core system to stitch together those islands. And then to talk a little bit about what I guess the whole group is working on, from like the standards group and AIMS and Plexus being involved with this, kind of some just like looking forward type deals. So there's some best practice documentation for IPMX based AV over IP systems that's in the works. This includes requirements for the system environment, device behavior, even how to select and configure network switches will all be documented. And this is actually going to be fueling an effort between AIMS and AVIXA to provide a multi-level certification course for IPMX. And so that should be hopefully announced here early 2025. So much like all of the other, AV over IP protocols and technologies out there, there's these classes that you can get educated on and understand how to implement them. It'll be the same thing for IPMX very, very, very soon. And then looking at some other things that we're working on, improvements to the actual control and management platform. It kind of adds an extra layer of data for the management system to know which devices and streams can be routed and which cannot. So it just provides contextual information to the content to the management system, and kind of provides a kind of a matrix of routing possibilities. That way you can't, accidentally route a video stream, a really, 4K, really high bit rate video stream to an audio only device by accident, right? It just kind of provides that extra layer of protection and context in the control system. There's also going to be a certification program put in place to ensure that device interoperability between all IPMX device manufacturers is good. This will also include a special labeling system or labeling program so that distributors and integrators and end users will easily know what IPMX devices are capable of and what can interop with each other. So, for example, if you have an audio only device, it won't be able to support video, those kinds of things. Like it'll be very simple labeling program just to make it clear with what everything will work together. So to kind of finalized, what does IPMX do for us? The vision of IPMX is to enable an industry where really any system can be plug and play, whether it's software or hardware devices. Anything IPMX can share content. The ability to scale and adapt for content compression, timing, and traffic shaping provides a technology platform to fit all customers' applications and budgets. And IPMX can scale from 1 gigabit to 25 gigabit networks and beyond. IPMX also enables mixed vendor solutions with interoperable transport and management. Users no longer need to be locked into the single vendor solutions that we were talking about, but it can also mix and match devices and software. John had hinted at about being able to pick, best of breed microphones or cameras and any of that kind of stuff. And while, they will most likely be able to be, IPMX native, inputs and outputs on those things in the future. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it that way. It can be still a best of breed SDI camera or something like that would still be able to integrate nicely into an IPMX system. So it's really just a system based on open standards that we can deliver to the Pro AV market. So that's all I have, John. If you want to take it over and really talk about Plexus and what we do.
Yeah, so we're gonna take a look at PlexusAV, what products we have. The first product that we brought to the market, and this is shipping and available right now, is the PAVN4, which is a 4K transceiver. So this is designed to be used on a 1 gig network. It uses IPMX as a standard, obviously. And as Aaron mentioned before, one of the key features of IPMX is having a product that is super low latency and really high quality. And that's what we've done here with this transceiver. It uses a JPEG XS profile built in. It also has H.264, H.265 compressed streaming. So this is kind of a unique capability of IPMX, is the ability to have a secondary stream. So I've got my 4K stream running inside of a conference room, and then I'm able to send a second compressed stream elsewhere in my building or over a different network or over Wi-Fi where they can't support that full 4K signal. I don't need to buy other products to do that. That's a built-in feature that we're utilizing with IPMX. The transceiver, you can see on the front panel, we've got a nice display there. It shows the IP address of the product, if it's active, inactive, and what mode it's in, whether it's an encoder or decoder. We have IR on the front, RS-232 on the back. We've got USB-C ports. There's 3 of them on this guy. So the 2 on the front are for your peripherals, and then the one on the back is for USB video. And then on the back, you can see we've got analog audio. There's Dante audio included as well in this. And then we've got a fiber port, and we've got a dual Ethernet port. So one of those is for the PoE Plus that powers this and the network. And we also have GraphQL API built in, so you can use any of your control systems and send HTTP signals to this device. And it comes with a 3-year warranty. Some of the accessories for it that we have a 1 RU rack mount so that we can just put 3 units flat on a single space. Or as shown in the picture, we have a unit that can hold up to 14 of these. And then we also have power supplies. So just hopping back real quick, you can see on the back it says PoE Plus powered. So that's PoE Plus powered. Everything works, fully functioning. We also have a redundant power supply, so you can plug in the power supply there. So why choose the PAVN4? Well, we want this product to be able to compete with every AV over IP product on the market, and I think it really does. It's 4K, it's got USB built in, it's got Dante, it has all the features, it has a really small form factor. That sets us apart. But obviously the biggest one is IPMX sets us apart, right? So if you're going to choose a product that has the same features, why not choose one that is built to an open standard? And like I mentioned before, allows the interoperability for the end user. Yeah, some of the applications, obviously education and corporate have so much in common nowadays where their campuses have all kinds of different technologies used. And it's a really great example of, how many different silos in one space you can have that don't actually talk to each other. We want to make it work for the customer to be able to, like Aaron said, bridge those islands. And also, we want to play in the live events and the broadcast space as well. So the other product that we have is Visual Array. And Visual Array is our management and control platform. It is an appliance that sits on the network and it runs our management control software. And I'm gonna give us a quick demo of that product as well. But basically, it allows you to monitor all of your devices. And what's really cool, we actually had a demo at InfoComm because we're using IPMX. If you put an IPMX product on the network, Visual Array is able to see that product and allow us to route video to and from that product as well. It includes video wall configuration, an AV matrix, which we'll take a look at, and then really that management for the end user to be able to do firmware updates, change settings for all their devices at once. There's a picture of Visual Array. So it kind of comes in two flavors. One is the server, for more devices, and then one is a smaller mini PC for under 50 devices. And so again, it is, a web interface that you're able to control and manage all of the devices on your network. And we'll take a little quick demo of that. I'm going to switch over. So I've got Visual Array here in my office. And this is a demo kit. So it's got 2 encoders and 2 decoders. I just log into the IP address for Visual Array, and it immediately takes me to this dashboard. On the dashboard, you see there's a bunch of widgets, and it basically shows, what devices are active on the network, what your network is doing, and it would show if a device went offline for some reason, and it would give you some error reporting here and different alarms. And it gives a really good dashboard to kind of manage what's on the network. I'm just going to kind of quickly go over some of the pages here, and then, if you want to get a deep dive into Visual Array, I'm happy to get you a demo kit or hop online and share it with you or set it up for you to utilize yourself as well. So the second tab here is the device list. And basically it sees I've got 2 encoders and 2 decoders live right now. It shows that they're online, and we've got them, organized into different groups, which you can customize all that. You can actually customize every single field that is shown here, whether you want to see IP addresses or whether you wanted to see what video codec is being used. So it's really user-friendly and intuitive in that way. There's a really great search function here. So if I name a product, laptop 2, and I want to search for it because I've got 100 devices, it's going to be easy to find that product. It shows, for example, this one is in decoder mode. Here's its address, and I can click on that address, and that takes me right to a page where I can manage all the settings for that device. And we'll take a look at that in a second. So I've got 2 encoders, 2 decoders. One of the really cool features here is, let's say I wanted to change all of my encoders, for example, change what resolution I'm forcing or change what type of codec I'm using for all of those on the network. I can make batch changes and change settings that way. The third tab here is the AV matrix, and this is a visual matrix where I'm able to actually route signals. So it can kind of expand this, and we can see all the different signals that are being routed. So you can see you've got your main video signal. We've got that secondary stream, HDMI audio. This would be USB if I had a keyboard or mouse plugged in. And so we can actually see thumbnails of what is on that device. So encoder 1's got my laptop, encoder 2's got a media player, and I'm able to actually, just click and route that easy all the devices around. And we get to see those thumbnails, which is a really cool feature because I can see, if something isn't live on that encoder or decoder, and we can see what's going on right there from that one screen. We also have video wall functionality. So if I wanted to create a video wall, we've got templates built in. You can change the offset and make that video wall look really nice. And then I'm going to hop back over to the device list. So basically, here's my 2 encoders. Here's my 2 decoders. I want to go to one of my encoders and kind of, dive into what the actual settings are there. So this is encoder number 1. It shows a little image of our product there. You can see what is selected as the video input. This is where you would switch between that USB-C on the back or the HDMI input. It shows that I'm using the HDMI audio, or I could switch to Dante, or I could switch to the analog audio. And then, like I said, it's got the thumbnail view that refreshes every couple seconds. And then we actually have scaling on the encoder and the decoder. So right here on the output of our encoder, we can force a certain codec or something like that. And the same thing on the decoder side as well. Here we see the Dante audio or analog audio. And then another really cool feature is the HDMI loop out. So my HDMI is going in, but this output on the encoder side can also go to a local display for a conference monitor or another display in that space. We can see whether or not that's enabled here. If I take a look at the decoder, the page looks pretty similar. We see what video input it's selecting. So right now I'm receiving that IP input from the encoder. We can see what format it's receiving. And again, I could also choose to force a certain resolution on the decode side here as well. So scaling on both the encoder and decoder. Going back to the visual array, I'm just going to go back to the dashboard real quick. We also obviously have a lot of different, features that are going to help you with management as far as updating firmware and making sure that, everything's up to date. That's a really cool feature of visual array as well. And yeah, feel free to put questions in the chat. And then, like I said, reach out to me after the webinar if you want to get a hands-on demo of visual array. That would be really fun for us to do as well. So some of the unique features, again, just to hit on those, Aaron brought up gateways, and I think that is a really powerful feature of IPMX. And the purpose of the gateway is that I don't want to exclude different technologies from my network, right? So if I have an NDI camera, it's 2024. Why do I need to take that and use the HDMI output into an encoder when it has a network port on it already? Why can't I just put it on the network and route that signal and have it work? And that's what that gateway really allows us to do. And it's a game changer. It allows you to choose the best technology and have them all work together. Secondary stream, like I brought up before, that second stream of compressed video running alongside the 4K video that you can route independently of the 4K signal, over certain applications that might need a lower bandwidth signal. And then we have the fully functioning USB routing. We're the first product that has it with IPMX. Obviously, I said we include Dante, PoE plus powered, which makes it really easy to install. And again, this is the 1 gigabit solution. The front panel display, a lot of products don't have a front panel display. I think it really sets us apart in addition to the smaller form factor. And then just taking a look, like I brought up before, what do you want an AV over IP product to do? Well, you want it to be high quality and low latency. So it is high quality and low latency. Right now, we're taking a look at a picture of what happens when I try and use desktop content on other codecs. So some codecs look great for video. They don't look great for desktop content. These high contrast, small fonts and things like that really don't work well. So on the right, we've got the JPEG XS profile. This is the profile that we're using in our product. But you can see here that to get that high of a quality, we've got to go over a gig. So we have an implementation of the FIT profile as well, which allows us to get under a gig and have really great quality signal. So how can you work with PlexusAV? Like I said before, I support the US and Canada. Reach out to me today. We are shipping, we have product ready to go, and we want to get it in your hands. We already have demo kits out with integrators and consultants giving us feedback all the time and getting that product out to customers. And we really want to get it in the hands of the customer. I brought up before that your customer might not ask you to make sure that your AV over IP product is built to an open standard, but it's about doing what's best for the customer. And we feel that having products that are built to a standard in AV over IP is a huge benefit to the customer. Integrators, feel free to reach out to me for pricing, and let's get set up to work together. And then if you have a product or a project or a customer that you think this might work for, or you have an AV over IP product going in somewhere that you want to maybe take a look at substituting us in as well, feel free to reach out. We want to get the product in your hands. We want to get, a proof of concept out there so you can see how well this product works. Again, please reach out for demo kits. And then also we're here to support you. So like I said, we're a small team. There's a picture of us at Infocom, but we've got the full support of Sencor behind us. So tons of resources on the support, design, and engineering side as well. So please connect with me after the webinar so that we can get set up to work together as well. We'll take a look, see if anybody has any questions. Feel free to pop them into the Q&A, and then Aaron and I will answer them, and we'll stay on for a couple minutes. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And Aaron, do you have anything else to add here before we get to the questions, or do you want to answer some questions that we might?
Yeah, I think I can. We got quite a few questions here, and I think I have answers for all of them. So,
Sweet.
If you don't mind.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah. So, someone asked, in the future, will you be using Milan as well as Dante? So, this is very punctual, or I guess it's very on point, because I was just researching this just a couple weeks ago. So the answer is not right away, and the only reason why I say that is because Milan as an audio format is actually vastly different than what, say, a Dante or even what like a PCM or linear PCM audio that you would say commonly seen like NDI. So that conversion's a little bit a heavier conversion than it would normally be from like, say, Dante or NDI into IPMX. So it's not that it's not possible. We just haven't got that as a part of our first release. But it is definitely something we would like to address, because we've been approached by a few projects asking about that exact thing. So yeah, to talk about the islands, right? We still need to build that bridge to that particular island, I guess is how I should say that. So next question was, is the primary 4K video stream synced with the secondary H.264 stream? So this, not to get too technical, I guess the overarching, I think, answer is probably going to be no. We will encode it at the same time, but because the low latency light compression JPEG XS codec is so much faster to encode and decode, that when you talk about that glass to glass latency, that end-to-end latency, your H.264 or even your HEVC stream is going to be anywhere from, I'd say, like 50 to 80 milliseconds different than what the JPEG XS, like that 4K stream is. So yes, we make the video frames at the same time, but by the time you get through the entire workflow, they wouldn't be, your 4K signal isn't going to be, at the time of decode, isn't going to be the same time. So kind of a weird technical answer, but that's the challenge of doing high compression and then light compression with the two different streams. And then we have another question about a wall plate version of the encoder. So we do not have that now, but that is something we are actively feasing and actually doing some scoping and research and stuff like that. There's all kinds of fun problems with controlling heat and power when it's like jam-packed in a wall socket. So it's there's some technical challenges that we're trying to address, but definitely that's something we're going to be working on. Let's see. Had a question about, will IPMX be a bridge between AV over IP and broadcast 2110 systems? The answer is yes. Actually, because they are so, well, I mean, IPMX is based on 2110. So in terms of doing the conversion, that's actually relatively lightweight, because that's just a timing difference. Like you're using PTP or you're using RTCP, which I'm saying a lot of, it's just an alphabet soup, but the conversion between those things is definitely very, very easy. And we've also been talking with broadcasters on the Sencor side about the benefits of IPMX and, why is it better than 2110? Because there's a lot of 2110 systems out there right now in the broadcast space, but it's that whole flexibility and being able to, it's the user experience improvements, right? That quality of life improvements that IPMX has made that broadcasters really should be paying attention to, just reducing costs of deployment and all kinds of stuff with those kinds of systems. I definitely think it will be a driver in that space. HDMI CEC support. Yes, we do have support for that. What is it like? Is it power off on, volume up down? I can't remember exactly what all all the little things are, but yes, we've got that. Do you support the Intofix master and proxy workflows? Not yet. But that is something that we're also looking at. We're working really closely with them. With that, I actually was just talking with them at was that IBC? Yeah, at IBC about that. That's fairly new as a part of their codec, and I think that would be very, very useful for us in our product portfolio, but we won't have that right away. Let's see. How can I continue to learn new solutions PlexusAV is coming out with? Well, obviously, go to www.plexusav.com. Also connect with John. I mean, he's on point with all of our contacts and always giving them an update. And then all of our social media stuff is always reflecting what new releases and new features and things like that. And then of course, if you know you're in the neck of the woods of Infocom or ISE, we will be there, and potentially at NAB and IBC next year as well. So the trade shows are always kind of a big announcement point for us. So yeah, just watch us on social media and the website and reach out to us and we'll definitely give you an update. All right. One more question. Does each network interface require its own IP address or VLAN? IP address, yes. VLAN, not necessarily. Individual interfaces can have their own VLANs, so fairly flexible in that case. But yeah, we can't what mimic, I guess, or no, mirror mirror the IP ports in that regard. All right, cool. Those are some good questions. No, thank you for that. That was very nice.
Awesome. All right, again, thank you everybody for joining. Please feel free to reach out to me via email if you have any other questions to follow up after this, and thank you so much.